Malala, I'm sure what you've done is sort of a landmark event in my lifetime, and certainly in the lifetimes of a lot of people in this auditorium, and you've written it in this book. It's not a boring book, really. It's not one of those books that you read and go, oh gosh, right, okay, so she did this and she did that. It's an exciting book. It's a really well-written book, and you've kind of authored it. What was the inspiration? Why did you think it was worth writing down for young people around the world to read?
Well, first of all, thank you so much to you and especially to J.K. Rowling for coming here and for giving me this honor to introduce me. I'm feeling honored and really thankful for that. You talked about writing the book. I think books are very important, and when I was in Swat Valley and when I was going to school, getting my education, and I read only 8 to 9 books at that time. And I thought I had done a great job, and everyone was calling me a bookish girl. But when I was brought to the UK, I discovered that here people have read hundreds of books at the age of 10. And it was really like a shame for me. I said, okay, so you have read only 8 books. That's why I thought that reading books is a very important part of life. Sometimes you read stories, you go to a different world. Sometimes you discover reality in it. You hear different thoughts, different ideas, and you get broad-minded. You are not limited to specific thinking, but you think about what other people think and why do they think like that. So that's very important that you know about others, and sometimes you go to a different world, like in Harry Potter. So that's why we thought that people would like to know my story and what was the situation in Swat Valley, where I'm from, in the north of Pakistan, and also to tell children in the developing countries to stand up for their rights and not to remain silent, but as well as to tell children in the developed countries where education is provided for them, where they get quality education, is to consider it important and to continue, and as well as to raise their voice for those children who are out of school. And I'm hopeful that children, including children, they will know about the story of not only one girl who stood up for her right to go to school, but also this is the story of thousands of girls in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, who do not have access to school, but they struggle for it.
You touched on a really important point. You said young people in the developed world to recognize what schooling and education means. I think for a lot of us, and me included, because I grew up in Britain, school is just something you do. It's not, you don't have to think about it. It's not some difficult concept. In fact, legally, you have to go to school. But that's not the picture all around the world, and it's certainly not the picture where you're from in Pakistan and where I'm from in Afghanistan. So could you talk a little bit about what it is like to grow up in a country where education is a privilege, or it's something you really have to struggle to get?
Well, education is very important for me, and this is my goal, to see every child going to school. But there's a reason behind it. You may not know, but there are so many countries all around the world who do not have free education for their children. So those who get free education from the government side, I think they are lucky that they have got free education, but as well as quality education and good facilities. When I went to Kenya, I met so many girls, and they told me that only 1 out of 10 girls get this opportunity to go to secondary school. When you think about education here, it's free. So I think it's a great opportunity for children here, and they should continue it. But in Pakistan, there are schools, the education is free up to a certain level, but then the school quality is not good. There are some other problems that are stopping children to continue their school. Number one is poverty. Family cannot afford to send their children to good school. They can't afford the fees of the books and uniform, etc. Then there is child labor, child trafficking. There are early forced marriages, especially when we think about the education of girls and what problems they have. One of the problems, the important one, is that they get married when they are 13, 14, then they have children. One of my friends, we were in year 6 both, and then suddenly she just disappeared, and I did not know about her for 2-3 years. And when I was 15, she was also 15. She called me. She found our home phone number, and then I asked her, like, where are you, what's going on? And she said that she had a son, and she was married, and that was totally surprising for me, because this was what I was campaigning against, and I did not want any girl to get married at that early age, and I wanted to see every girl getting education, not only becoming a mother, a sister, a daughter, but also becoming a human being, a woman, to know that she has rights as well, and she needs to be recognized as a woman. But she lost that, and she could not continue her education, and that's what I was trying to do at that time, not to see many other girls getting married at that early age. So there are so many other issues as well, but then we have youth, we have young generation, they are struggling for it, and they want to bring change in the country. So we should not lose hope, because now through education, people are realizing that education is important, and as well as they're telling their parents, their community, and awareness is coming.
Just a moment, a pause. Some of the stuff she just said, it's absolutely mental, isn't it? Married at 15, having kids, having a son by that age, having to fight for it, being so poor you can't afford to go to school. They're remarkable things that are happening in the world right now. And that's kind of the background, just the backdrop of what Malala's talking about. I mean, a lot of you sitting in this room are about that age, and a lot of you sitting in this room are girls as well. Could you imagine how different it would be because of that? Malala, very kind of just to go back to basics, what can an education do apart from teach you the periodic table and who James Joyce was? What else is education important for?
Education is very important, not only because it teaches you physics, chemistry, and all these subjects, but right from the beginning, when you enter the school, you see that all the children are sitting on the same chairs, on the same desks, and it shows right from the beginning to the children that it does not matter what's the color of your skin, what language do you speak, what religion do you believe in. It does not matter, but you all are equal, and you should not be discriminated on this basis, but you should be treated with equality, and you all have equal rights. Right from the beginning you learn it, and there you get a feeling that you are living in a community and how you can help your other friends, and when you fight, then it comes to justice, who is responsible in the fight. So I think it's really important that children go to school, because it helps them to build up their strength and to make them able to then further on to continue their life and start learning how to live together in a community, in a society.
Absolutely. In the 21st century, an educated woman is deemed to be such a threatening concept, such a scary thing, that in parts of Africa and other parts of Asia and anywhere else in the world, there are organizations that fight really strongly against it. If we think of Boko Haram in Africa, an entire organization exists because girls shouldn't be educated. That's a really powerful thing. Why is it in the 21st century an educated young woman, an educated girl, is deemed to be such a threat or such a problem?
Well, first we need to think why these people stand up, why they stand up against girls' education. So they try to find different excuses, these people, but they really do not want women to go forward and to get empowered and to have this recognition as human beings and as women, and to be independent, really, because they think that women can do a lot, and they really think that women should be in their control. And it's happening in many patriarchal societies, including from the area where I'm from. There were so many families, so many girls who, as I mentioned, one of my friends, they get married, then they have children, then they become grandmothers. They never get this opportunity to know that, yes, they are human beings as well, and just like men, they have rights as well. So I think these people, they are, most of them are uneducated. They do not know how important it is. And then second thing is that they're misunderstanding the message of religion. So the religion of Islam, it's a religion of peace, and the word Islam means peace. And in Islam, education is not only a right, but it is compulsory. You have to get education, you have to get knowledge, and Islam is all about understanding new things every day, learning every day, and it's about brotherhood, about justice, about peace and equality. So I think they haven't really read Quran, and they haven't really understood Islam, what Islam says. So I think it's necessary, it's compulsory that they know about Islam, what's the message of Islam, and as well as they get education themselves as well. Because when they think about education, they call it Western education, which is totally something strange, because you can't differentiate, or you can't say this is Eastern or this is Western education. Education is all about learning. It's you learn physics, chemistry, you learn maths. All these subjects are very important, because if you want to go further, and if you want to discover what talents you have, what abilities you have, and what skills you have, then you have to learn these subjects in the beginning, so you realize in which subject you are good, in which you are not, and then which one can you continue. So I think it's very important. But then in education you also learn about so many things. You learn about your rights, you get this opportunity to learn about history, to learn about other people, and I love school. I don't know why they don't like it. It's just simply like, why are you against it? But they haven't gone to school themselves.
Well, that's kind of one of the reasons. One of the reasons that I usually think is these predominantly men, sorry boys, these men are often, the way I feel, because I come from Afghanistan, which is similarly quite an oppressive country, and in Afghanistan, where I'm from, it's even more famous for having the Taliban, I'm afraid. An educated woman can stand up to a man. An educated woman can say, hold on, let me read that Quran that you're tells me to sit at home and have babies and wash and cook and clean. Let me have a look at that book that you're talking about. And what that does is it challenges them. An educated woman can challenge an entire nation or entire group of people who oppress women and men, of course, as well. In the book, you talked about your mother who didn't have formal education, who hasn't been to school, and you talked about doing your homework with her and how much she enjoyed it. I mean, that's bonkers to me, but the fact that your mum really, really loved studying with you. Can you just talk a little bit about that and kind of maybe go into why she enjoyed it so much and what education can do for a woman?
So when my mother was 5 or 6, she went to school maybe for like some time, and then she saw that she was the only girl in her classroom, the rest were boys, and she said that her friends were playing and enjoying time, and she was the only girl sitting there just learning. So she found it quite boring, and then she sold her books. At that time there was no money, and she got candies back, and that was it. She didn't go back. But the sad thing was that no one encouraged her to continue her education, because people were thinking that, oh, she's a girl, and if she does not go to school, that does not matter. That's not something very important. Now she has realized the importance of education, and as my father, he's here, he was running a school, and he started a school only from 4 students in 1994, and now we have like so many hundred students there. But my father loves education, and he always talks about that a girl and a woman has the right to learn and has the right to be independent, but as well as he tells people how to be good fathers and how to be good brothers. That's important. So we teach people and men especially what is good brotherhood and what's good fatherhood. So she also like got inspired from my father. Sometime I asked my mother that, my father isn't that much handsome, why did you marry him? I said, like, why did you marry him? And then she says, you won't understand, he's such an intelligent man and he loves education, that's why I married him. I said, okay, that's a good reason.
Theodin, I think you're a looker, by the way. She has to say that because she's your daughter, but you guys can have a look in a minute. Fine moustache.
Now, he's a very nice father and a nice husband as well to my mother, so that's why she's learning. She still goes to an English learning center. She learns 5 days a week, and she's working hard. We were in the United States like for nearly 1 month, and she took her homework there as well, not just enjoying but as well as doing her homework.
I think what we're trying to say, and what Malala said so eloquently, is that education isn't just about learning the periodic table and learning to read James Joyce. It's also about learning about yourself. It's why a lot of people go to university. It's why we love reading and doing that stuff so much, because through education and through what you do, you help women around the world have a voice, which is what I want to kind of talk about now. You became famous for advocating girls' education, and the world listened to you. But you were doing this a long time before it became fashionable or it became sort of what you were known for. You were doing it from the age of 10 years old. What got you inspired to, in such a repressive environment, to stand up and say, actually, I am a woman, I have a voice, and I will use it?
So it was 2007 when terrorism started in Swat Valley. The Taliban came, they started destroying schools, and more than 100 schools were blasted at that time. And they banned girls' education. They were against the freedom of women, and women were not allowed to go to markets. And it continued till May 2009. So it was for 2.5 years nearly. And at that time, I started speaking right from the beginning in 2007. I started speaking to different media channels, to newspapers, and to local media TV channels, just because I wanted to stand up for my rights. But the reason for that was that we were suffering through terrorism. There was fear all around. First, Swat was known for its beauty, for tourism. People used to go there from all around the world, and people used to enjoy the beauty. Those people love to see those tall mountains and those green hills and trees and rivers.
It's like the French Alps of Pakistan. Think of it that way.
It's called the Switzerland of the East, but it's not that much cold. It's a very nice country. It's a very nice place, and I'm feeling very lucky that we have 4 seasons in Pakistan. We have summer, winter, we have spring and autumn. Here it's always cold. So I miss my home. That's one of the reasons. So Swat Valley at that time was a target of Talibanization, and they came with a different mindset, not understanding what real Islam means, but implementing their own created laws and demanding things which were totally against human rights. At that time, I had only 2 options. One was to remain silent and wait to be killed. And the second was to speak up and then be killed. And I chose the second one. I did not want to live in that situation of terrorism, in that situation of brutality. I wanted to speak up for my rights and to see myself going back to school and to see my friends going to school and learning. Because if I wouldn't have gone to school at that time. It was 2009, the month of January, when school was banned. They announced it on FM radio that no girl is allowed to go to school. And at that time, I thought that my life would be just like those girls who cannot go to school. I would get married, I would have children, then I would have grandchildren. I would never be able to do things which I want. And at that time I wanted to become a doctor. Now I have changed that I want to become a politician now.
Oh dear. Don't judge her.
Oh yeah, a good politician. So at that time, for a second, I thought that I won't be able to become a doctor and serve my community, and I won't be able to be really a woman and a human being and to have equal rights. So that's why I started speaking up, because I did not want to live in that situation. And it's very important that we start speaking up right now, because sometimes we think that other people would come and it's a politician's job and it's not my job to speak. I think it's very important that we speak up against all those discriminations and all those prejudices in our society that are against women's rights, against children's rights, against education. I think we need to stand up for it. We need to stand up against all these brutalities, because otherwise it would continue. It will never stop. It needs us to go and to stop them.
It's a powerful thing to say at the age of between the ages of 10 and 13, Malala, that you had to choose between staying silent and dying and being killed and speaking up and being killed. At 13, my main worry was, did I have spots on my face, and was my school uniform really naff, and what's on television and how can I talk to my friends about it? Those were my worries, because I grew up here. But for you to be faced with that situation and to come up and say, no, I will not take this lying down, is remarkable. It's an absolute inspiration. But as the famous saying goes, behind every powerful and influential schoolgirl stands a more powerful, more influential father. And so Ziauddin, who's sitting here, who's your father, was also championing girls' rights and girls' education. Can you talk a little bit about how in Swat and in other places in the world as well, a man standing up for girls' education is as unique as a 10-year-old girl standing up for girls' education?
So my father always, he always supported women's rights, and he used to go to different events, and he and his friends, they were in Swat Valley all the time doing protests, peaceful protests and rallies, and standing up for education, for peace, for equality, for justice. And I would always be with my father. I was very little when I started going with him. Even there was a program about like poetry, and I would just go with him. So right from the beginning, I loved listening to others, and I continue doing it. Even though on media, when I appear, it seems like I always talk, but it's not true. When I sit with other people, I only listen. I hardly talk, because listening is very important, and that's what I learned through my whole life. Even it's 17 years, but I have a very long experience in these 17 years. I feel quite old. Well, I am old. But I always try to learn from others and to learn good things from them. And my father, he's a very nice father, because sometimes people ask him that, what did you do for your daughter? And he says that, don't ask me what I did, but ask me what I didn't do. And I did not clip her wings. So he did not clip my wings. He let me fly. He let me be who I was. He did not force me to just to stay at home and not to go to school, but rather he treated me equally as he treated my two brothers, who think that they are being discriminated, which is not true.
I don't know.
So my father is a very nice father, because he gave the message of equality, justice, and the importance of education right from the beginning.
And that's kind of a really important point, that when we talk about girls' education, when Malala does what she does, and she has a grueling schedule, she's trying to get her GCSEs as well as kind of trips around the world, telling people what the right way to think and act is that the struggle for getting girls into schools, for knowing themselves and to know their own minds, is a struggle for boys and girls. It's a struggle that men and women need to participate in. It's no good saying, oh, it's about girls' education, I'll just switch off then, because I'm a boy, I'm a lad, doesn't bother me. That's not true. And Malala, sitting here today, as amazing as she is, couldn't be where she is without the support of her father. So it's all of our responsibilities. And that's what I got from reading your book, that it's not just yourself, it's your mother who supported both of you. Yes. I mean, what's really interesting in the book is that you say your inspiration and your hero is your father, and you say that both of your heroes is your mother, yeah, which is just remarkable. But in that environment, we're talking about women in Swat at the worst time. Forget education, they weren't allowed to go to the market. If they were seen alone without a male chaperone, they were beaten. We're talking about, think of the worst situation you can. That's what we're talking about. When you started to speak out and when they couldn't hush you up, what was the reaction from your neighbours and from other people in Swat? Did they support you?
So, as you mentioned about the women's rights, at that time, women were even flogged just because there was a girl, she was a dancer, and they said that dance is not allowed in Islam, that's why we flog you. There were singers, they killed them because they say, oh, singing is not allowed, so how can you sing? And they killed them, they slaughtered people, they were so brutal. Sorry, what was the question?
Let's just go again. Did you have the support of your neighbours and your friends?
So, in the beginning, most of the people, they did not want me to speak, because they thought that my life could be under the threat of Taliban, and I can be a target. But at that time, I was really thinking that a Talib won't hurt a school girl or a child, because they blasted more than 400 schools, but they did not kill a child at that time, which was something really strange. And we were thinking that Taliban would not be that much bad. They would have some mercy for a child. So at that time, I was not that much worried. But then there were some people who were not telling me to, who were telling me not to speak, not only because they were thinking about my life, that it could be in danger, but then they were also thinking that, oh, she's a girl, and she's a woman, and how can she continue speaking, because she will get older. Now she's young, but when she reaches the age of 13, 14 or 15, then it's like an age of getting married, and she should not continue appearing on media, appearing on TV channels. So that's why there were some people who were not encouraging me. But then later on, most of them started supporting me. So when there was one of my father's friend. My father usually tells the story, but he's there, so I have to tell all the stories. So when I was born, one of my father's friend, he brought a long list of names, and it was a family tree. And all the names were of men. So like my father, then his father, grandfather, and then fathers, fathers, and fathers. And then the person was like showing the family tree, and then my father, he took his pen and he drew a line and he wrote Malala. And then the man laughed and he said, like, you wrote the name of a girl on a family tree. You are not supposed to write it, because on a family tree you write the names of men only, because men are really the honors of the family and they are the ones who are going to control the whole family. But my father, the first step he took was to show that yes, this girl, this woman, she has an identity and she needs to be recognized, and she should be respected in society. It was the first step he took. So as you mentioned, as you said that yes, there were people who were not encouraging me, but then the person who brought the family tree, now he's supporting me. He has written poems on me. So I think with the passage of time, a change comes, even though it's quite difficult, because people who are mature, who have long experiences, it's quite difficult to tell them something new which is not in their mind, which they do not even think of. It's quite difficult to change that mindset. But when you take a step and when you show them in reality that yes, I can do it, just give me one chance, then they change their mind.
And this is the most important part of why we're here today. What we want to talk about is changing people, changing the way people think. It's so difficult for a 17-year-old woman to talk to, a 50-year-old plus Pakistani man who's lived his life and knows what there is to know, to say, hold on a minute, I've got a different perspective and you should listen to me. It's the toughest thing in the world. But Malala, you've taken your message not just to a national level, to an international level. What is your message?
Well, the message is very simple. I want every child to go to school to get quality education. But it's quite a difficult journey. It's a very, very difficult journey, because there are 57 million children who are out of school right now, only in the primary level. There are so many difficulties. I went to Kenya, I went to Nigeria, I went to Jordan to see the Syrian refugees, and I saw so many children whose only wish and dream is to go to school. And I met one girl, her name is Mozoon, her picture is in the book, and she's very active and confident, and she was guiding me, she was showing me the Zatari camp where the Syrian refugees are, and there were about 60,000 children in that camp, and there were only 3 schools for them. And she's also one of those students who wants to continue her education. And I asked her, what is your dream? Do you want to be a rich woman, just have a big house? And she said, my dream is just to go back to Syria and to live in a peaceful, in a very nice place, and to continue my education. She does not dream for any big thing. And this is not only the story of one girl, but this is the story of many children in the developing countries who are deprived of education. They always dream to go to school, and it was my dream as well, my wish as well, that I wish I can continue my education. I have those books and pens again, sit in the classroom with my friends, learn, listen to the teachers' lectures, do homeworks. For a second, it became so precious when the school was banned that I thought, I wish I see this day again. And that's why we continue the struggle. So I would like to tell you all that you have this great opportunity, that you are in so much nice schools, and the schools you are in are great. And for me, they are great because in many countries, children don't have the facility of labs, science labs, computer labs, libraries, nice teachers, nice buildings even, and like there are not even toilets in most of the schools. So you have this good opportunity that you have so many facilities, and just continue your education. It can really bring change, because in society everyone has to play his or her role. It's not only the job of politicians to do things, it's not only the job of social activists to go and do protests on the roadsides, but it's everyone's role, it's everyone's duty to contribute to this campaign. Painters, artists, musicians, poets, everyone has to come forward and tell the world through the way you choose it totally depends on you, how you say it. So I have written a book. Through book, I'm saying to the world that education is important and the world leaders should make it their top priority and do something for it. Through book, I'm raising awareness. Through speaking, I'm trying to raise awareness. Now there's a documentary which was made in this 1 year and it will be released next year. So through documentaries, through movies, as you did documentaries and movies, so through documentaries and movies, we should tell the world that education is important. So I think everyone has to contribute.
Just before I get to your questions, and I will get to your questions if it kills me, there's about 200, maybe 150 kids sitting in this room. And you should have a look around, actually. Have a look around now at the number of people in here, right? There's lots of you. There's loads of you here. Yeah, that's right. House lights up, please. Thank you. Look at how many people are in this room. If every single one of you just continue to do what you're doing, is Malala's message, you're doing something. But there's more, isn't there? We live in the 21st century. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of these things are really powerful tools. And at the age of 10, you were blogging, so you know a thing or two about it. Tell us, Malala, tell us in this room how we can help your cause.
I think the role of every person is important, but then people say, how can I do it? I think you can do it in different ways. You can support organizations, foundations who are working for the cause of education. You can also raise awareness. You can join the groups who are doing campaigning for education, but you can also use social media for this good cause, which is education. It's good to sometimes put your selfies and say what's up, but it's also good that you use it for raising awareness and tell other people and tell your friends how important education is, and to say that let's come together, let's stand up for girls in Nigeria who are abducted by Boko Haram, let's stand up for children in Kenya, especially girls who do not get education, and only 1 out of 10 girls get this opportunity to continue her education. Let's stand up for them. Let's ask our responsible people, our leaders, to do something for it and make it their top priority, not spend millions and trillions of dollars and pounds on weapons, on guns, but rather spend this money on education. And when I met the president of the United States,
just going to throw that in there. Well, I met Jolie as well. Sorry, go on, Malala. Sorry, totally.
So when I met the president, this is what I asked him, that instead of sending guns and instead of sending weapons and tanks to these countries which need support right now, why don't you send books? Why don't you send pens and teachers? This is how we can fight terrorism. Through killing someone or through doing a bomb blast or another like firing a missile or a rocket, you can only kill terrorists, but you cannot kill terrorism. You can kill terrorism only through education, and that's what we need to focus on right now. So your support is very important through the social media, that you also reach to those children who are in the developing countries, and you try to understand what's their situation, how they are feeling, and to help them to raise their voices.
It's about the new normal. We're trying to create a new normal. Going to school and being a woman and having a voice should be normal, and that's what we're trying to do. That's it from me, but I've got a couple of questions that you guys have sent in. I'm really sorry, there were too many to go through, so I've just picked a few of them. We've got one here from Grace Mount School. Where's Grace Mount School? Grace Mount School? There you are, hello. So she knows where to look. Sarah Hudson says, which method do you think would be suitable to introduce fair education to all countries and cultures across the globe?
So the first thing is that there is this involvement of religious excuses from people, especially Boko Haram and the Taliban, who misuse the name of Islam and their religion to say that girls should not be allowed to go to school. Then there are some people who misuse the name of the culture, their traditions, and they say, in our culture, a girl is not supposed to go outside. In our culture, it's a shame to send a daughter to school. In our culture, it's a shame to see a girl independent going all alone on the roadsides. It's a shame to see a woman becoming a doctor and treating men and to women. And so in many cultures and from the religious point of view, the independence of women is considered a shame and is considered against it. But the important thing is that education is a human right, and we should accept that. And we also should think that these cultures and traditions are not sent from the skies. They are made by us, and we have the right to change these traditions. So we should first fight against our thinking, our own thinking. Let's think differently, and let's change the cultures. And when it comes to religion, I think there should be nothing about religion. Education is just education. It's about learning. And the interesting thing and the very nice thing about education here in the UK is that you not only learn about one religion, you learn about different religion, and you learn about what different religions say, and that's how you get a clear image. That's how you get to know about each other and what that person or that person is thinking differently. I think that is very important, that you know about each other. While in many other countries, including Pakistan, you learn about one religion, and you don't know what other people think and why do they think like that. So when it comes to that involvement of religion, I think it's good that you learn all the religions, but when it comes to education, I think education is for every child, including girls. So when it comes to boys' education, then we don't question about the religion. So when it comes to girls' education, why do we put the question of religion?
That's a fair point. Well made. I hope that answers your question, Sarah. Good. Just two very, very quick ones, because I know I've completely run out of time. We've got one from Berkshire High School, and this one is by Halcyon Hayward. What a wonderful name. And Halcyon wants to know, what are the things that you remember most about growing up in the Swat Valley?
Well, I remember so many things. So I miss my school, my friends. We used to talk a lot, enjoy time, and we were known as the clever class. And I miss my friend Muniba. She's my best friend, and we still talk on Skype thanks to social media and thanks to technology we are developing, and we're getting better every day. Other than that, Swat has beauty as well. I miss that beauty, especially not only those mountains and those rivers, those trees and everything, but as well as people. I miss people, and there's a special feeling of home which you never find anywhere else. And I have been to many other countries, but I didn't find any place, even if the place looked beautiful, it didn't look like a home. And this feeling of a home, you cannot find it anywhere else other than your home.
Yes, that's very, very true. We've got one more, and this will be the last one. I'm really sorry. And this is from Eve Barker. And Eve wants to know, what are you reading right now? Apart from your very good own book.
No, I read it just 2 times, this one, while editing.
She wrote it.
So.
Yes. But what are you reading at the moment, Malala?
When I was in the USA, as I mentioned, so I read An Inspector Calls. I finished it, and that was a really good book. I liked it, and it reflects how women. It shows, like, it highlights so many different issues. So issues of the misunderstanding between 2 generations, the first one and then the second one, how there is misunderstanding between the parents and their children, how women's rights are neglected, how in society we are becoming more like individuals, and we are not considering ourselves that yes, we are living in a society and we are living in a community, and we should treat each other as a family. So it gives that message as well. It's about women's rights as well. It shows how women's rights were neglected at that time. So it's a very nice book, and I enjoyed it, and it's a play actually. So I think you'd also like it. And I think I should read Harry Potter. That should be the next one.
Are you kidding me? Don't tell Joe that. Oh my goodness. Malala, just before we wrap up, because I think we've had our fill now, can you just very briefly tell us what about the future? You tell me you don't want to. Last time I met Malala, she was going to be a doctor, and now she's going to be a politician.
Well, I have so many dreams for my future. I want to become a politician. Actually, I want to become the Prime Minister of my country, Pakistan. I hope people will vote for me. But I want to become a politician because through that way, through politics, I can help my whole country, and I can make education the top priority, make democracy stronger, and make my country a developed country. And there are 5 to 7 million children in Pakistan who are out of school. To see all those children, to see all my sisters and brothers going to school. And once when I got the National Youth Peace Prize, I was going back home, and on my way I saw a little girl, and she had a nail in her hand and a paper of and a piece of advertisement, like a paper, and she was just trying to write something and pretending that she was in a school and she was in a classroom and learning. But when I went nearer to her, she was selling oranges with her father, and I really wanted to see that girl going to school. So it's still my dream to see that girl and to see many other girls who were suffering from domestic child labor, learning and getting education. Other than that, we have also set up the Malala Fund, and we are working through that. We have done projects in Nigeria, speaking up for those girls who are abducted by Boko Haram. We went to Kenya. We also went to Jordan to speak for the Syrian refugees, children especially, and also did projects in Pakistan for those girls who are suffering from domestic child labor. So this is the work that we are doing, and still hope to do more, and as well as just make this goal, this big dream of seeing every child going to school come true, and to see it in reality. But I'm hopeful that it will come true, because in our past we have seen that women did not have the right to vote, but through the struggle of women and with the passage of time, this change has come. So if we want to see the next change of seeing every child going to school, I think we should become the change ourselves, and let's become the change and bring a change.
Thank you all for listening so intently. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. I just want to thank Malala once again, because she was a very, very ordinary girl growing up in Swat, in Pakistan. And now she's taking center stage, and she does it with such grace. She's so humble, and she's really, really funny. Seriously. So thank you to her for bringing her story, but also changing the world. And it's just proof to all of us in this room that we could be anybody, we could be absolutely anybody, and we genuinely do have the power and the potential to change the world. Corny, but true. Thank you all for attending. Thank you.